Here are 10 tips you should think about before you perform your electronic live music on stage. And we're gonna get into that right now. Hi, I'm Analog Kitchen and thank you for checking out another video. If this is your first time here, don't hesitate to click subscribe and hit the notification bell so whenever I drop a new video online, you won't miss anything. Alright, so 10 tips. The first one being, don't bring more gear to the stage than you'll end up using. And in order for you to eliminate any mistakes that could possibly happen, it's best to just bring a few boxes to the stage that you know by heart so you can actually just go out and have a very convincing performance. Know what you're doing on the equipment itself, but focus on the crowd as well so your performance looks a little bit more spot on and more interactive. Once you're confident enough that what you're doing is actually working and you know that after a few performances you feel like I'm getting into the zone, things are actually moving, that's when you can add some more to your arsenal in order to see if that's something that will complement the set that you already have. But keep it simple. So it's always better to work with something that you know rather than having to figure out some stuff on stage where the pressure is already full on. Which brings me to tip number 2. Disconnect and reconnect all your pieces of gear. Disconnect and reconnect your gear and do it in a safe environment. Try it at a friend's house. Reconnect it and see if everything is working out for you so that it's a fail-safe. So once you're actually entering the stage or entering your performance, you don't have to worry about stuff not happening. The ghost in the machine syndrome. More on that later. Try and reconnect a few times ahead of time, maybe in the weeks leading up to your performance. Try and get a hang of how it is going to be working. Find out what the sound system's like. Just get confident with whatever is going to be happening there, but disconnect, reconnect, disconnect, reconnect. Just do your setup a few times so you don't actually have to try that stuff out in the middle of a dark environment. Tip number 3. Shop for an organized case, preferably one of the biggest backpacks. Cables go in one side, adapters go in the other side, maybe your gear goes in a certain way so that you know that after a while that's the way you just pack stuff in the bag. So it's easy in, easy out. You get to the venue, open the box and do everything in the same order. And that leads me into tip number 4. Make sure you have enough time to set yourself up and acclimatize to your surroundings. Because when you feel good, your performance is going to be better, right? And I think that that's the main key here. Get there in time, make sure you've got ample time to set yourself up, follow your routine, and stick to the plan. This also means that sometimes you have to tell good friends to take their drinks to the bar. When you're stressing during setup and you're trying to get everything in order and you're trying to work out where the cables are going, you'll find some friends coming up to you, how are you doing, and are you ready for the night? Eliminate all the stress that you can do. Focus on wiring up your gear, make sure everything is fail-safe so you're ready to do a kick-ass performance. Time to rock! Tip number 5. The best thing for you to do is to make a connection with the sound engineer. Why? Because they're more than willing to help, they're more than willing to actually meet a fellow gear nerd and they will help you make that connection. No matter what you or your management has decided upon with the people you spoke to during the week, things will probably not apply once the carnival is in motion, drinks are flowing, lights are going, the sound is hot. Make sure you connect with the sound technician once you get to the venue. Explain to them what you have actually planned with your sound, how it is set up, what you're trying to do, how your set is going to be progressing throughout your performance so they know what they can expect, and ask them how the sound in the room is. And explain what it is you're trying to accomplish with your live set, because that way they can act as an extension to what it is that you're trying to do and make you look and sound good. And that takes me to tip number 6. If your budget allows for it, build everything into a portable flight case. One of the main advantages is that you don't have to struggle and fight for space when you enter a smaller DJ box or stage. And of course another advantage is that you don't need a lot of time to set up. So it gives you more time to connect with people. Sound guy. And another advantage is that you keep your stuff dry and safe from all the glasses of drinks that might be there. So with everything in a flight case built in, there's no more wiring. You just pop the lid, stick everything into the mixer, and you're ready, set to go. Which leads me to tip number 7. Bring a headphone that you trust and make sure your headphone is loud enough to stand the monitoring system. You get to the DJ box, guns of never own, everything's blazing, and you don't hear a thing. Well, you can imagine that if you're performing and somebody comes into the DJ box setting up and they turn down your monitors, you're going to be pretty annoyed, right? So that is something you're probably not going to do to another artist. So make sure you bring your own monitoring system, so once it's go time, you are actually ready to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tip number 8. And that leads me into tip number 8. And if you're setting things up, especially if you're doing a lot of shows and you're constantly rewiring stuff, you sometimes get hit by something that I'd like to call the ghost in the machine syndrome. Ghost in the machine syndrome. Ghost in the machine syndrome is you have everything wired up correctly, still when you play stuff, something is not working. Why is this box not running? Why is that sample not playing? And you know what? 5 minutes before go time, I literally shit. I will call it the ghost in the machine syndrome because sometimes I don't know what's happening. Everything is wired correctly, but still I'm losing samples. Someone always strays from the MIDI path. What has happened? One thing to take into consideration is to not rely on one setup and one setup alone, so that if something breaks down, you can actually rely on something else playing. I have now got 2 different MIDI tracks, different MIDI sequences. So if one thing breaks down, I can always rely on something else to play. In my case, it is the 909 drum computer that will run on a separate path with something else that I can stick over the top. So if my octa track or my MPC for some reason think like, you know what, not today, I can always rely on a drum computer with something else like an AS1 by Pioneer or a TB03 by Roland, something that you can actually hit play and it will do something to actually save the day. While the other pieces of gear are running, you can safely determine who is the culprit and who needs to just get back on the path and try and solve the other problem while nobody is noticing it. A bit like the CIA, right? The better I do my job, the less you're gonna find out about it. Tip number 9. Look at all that, look. Like I'm working in a sawmill, isn't it? Have a backup. Once you are performing live, a lot of stuff in that live set is going to change over the course of your performance. Levels get changed, some things are going to be turned off, other things are going to be turned on. Save that same live set in 2 different locations. Exactly as is, so whenever you have to reproduce that live set, you can go back to the one that you have saved. Every room takes a different kind of equalization. Odds are that once you play the set in one room and you're having to perform maybe the next day, the levels are not gonna line up. Have a basic plan from which you can start and actually take that to the next level. In order for you to progress, you have to play a certain set for a few times in order to understand where you can actually gain some perspective on if it's actually working, yes or no. And that leads me into number 10. Tip number 10. Have fun. Have fun. Don't overthink it. It's very easy to get lost in the world of MIDI cables, connectivity, with the wiring, with the sound, the different influences you'll get while you're actually trying to just make sure that your sound is going to be what you want it to be. Have patience and have the confidence that after a while you'll get the hang of it. It took me a while before I actually had fun performing live. When you're starting out, you think that everything is going to go wrong, right? Having fun is the most important thing. The better you get at it, the better it's going to look. The better you're going to shine on stage and the more people are going to see like, yeah, this person masters whatever it is that they're doing. You might overthink stuff, a lot of stuff gets into the equation, but in the end of the day, have fun. I think that that's that. Don't hesitate to click subscribe and hit that notification bell so when I drop a new video, you'll be the first to know about it. I'm Analog Kitchen and I will catch you next time.